So, a couple of weeks ago, I was posting onto my social media account and I did something I don't typically do, which is look at other posts that were showing up in my feed. And a lot of them were posts by scholars, by well known Muslim persons, by therapists. And a lot of the content was focused on Islamic reminders. So they were sharing content about verses from the Quran, or sharing hadith, or sharing Islamic content that was sending a message to those who were reading it. And I noticed a bit of a pattern with this content. And I also noticed a pattern when I was scrolling through the comments on these posts. And the pattern is that people were really taking to heart what these reminders were telling them. And the comments were along the lines of, I really needed to hear this. Yes, you're right. I need to have more faith. I should be strong. Thank you for being a role model. So there was a tendency to take at face value what the content was sharing. And then people were applying that to their own lives and most often their own struggles and hardship. And then as I was reading these comments, I sensed that there was a lot of emotional pain underneath them. I could sense the heaviness of people's words. I could sense that they indeed were struggling. And even while they were saying this content was helping them, it didn't feel like they felt any different. And it really made me reflect on how I not only noticed this pattern on social media, I also notice it in my therapy room. I notice it when I'm facilitating courses or webinars, or even when I've held in person events and people are coming and speaking with me. And this pattern we can refer to as bypassing, which is a tendency to really look for and seek Islamic reminders that tell us about our struggles and what can help us. Now, a lot of these reminders, they tend to fall into something that we call spiritual bypassing, which is when we misuse religious or spiritual texts or reminders to help us feel better, yet we bypass our emotional pain and discomfort at the same time. So it's a tendency to want to feel better and make sense of our struggles, which actually pulls us away with being present with what is actually emotionally challenging and difficult. So this can sound like, I know that I'm being tested. I should have more faith. I should have more tawakkul. I should be patient. All of these shoulds that come into play. And Islamic values like patience and gratitude and faith in Allah that we then tend to intellectualize, right? We tend to create these statements to help us cope in the moment. And again, it's well intentioned, and we do this because it's partly our upbringing, it's what we see and hear, let's say in Muslim community spaces. And it's also, as I'll talk about in other videos, it's a protective mechanism that our soul has to avoid what is uncomfortable. So it's not something that we want to be ashamed about if we notice that we're falling into it. We instead want to gently notice ourselves reaching for reminders and asking ourselves, wait, as I'm making sense of my struggles in this Islamic way, let me pause and ask, how am I feeling in this moment? So we want to gently and compassionately pause what our mind is telling us, and we want to inquire, how am I feeling in this moment? What emotions are there? And even us pausing and gently noticing, we are now shifting from the head more towards the heart. And this is something I'll be exploring in future videos. And it's a concept we'll explore called compassionate witnessing. And in the meantime, I invite you to really take this noticing as an invitation. And the next time you are on social media or the next time you are speaking with a friend or family member and you are going into the pattern of making spiritual sense of your struggle, or you're trying to feel better by thinking what you should be feeling, take a moment and pause and ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? What emotions are there? And what feels uncomfortable within me right now? Taking this pause and moving towards what's uncomfortable is a beautiful first step towards witnessing your own soul.